I was in a car accident and covered in bandages. I felt pain all over my body and was mentally pushed to the limit. I never expected to end up like this. What pushed my heart to rock bottom in such a situation was none other than my husband.
Huh? Accident? You were careless, weren't you?
Don't say it like that, please. Anyway, I was in the hospital for a while and I wanted you to bring me a change of clothes.
Why me? Who even said you can go to the hospital in the first place?
Huh? What do you mean?
Don't slack off on household chores just because you're injured. Crawl back home if you have to.
The moment those heartless words were uttered, something that had been holding me back suddenly vanished. I couldn't let it consume my mind and body any longer. It's impossible. I can't bear it. If it has come to this, I have no choice but to resort to my last option. In order to carry out the plan, I returned home covered in bandages, completely unaware of the unforeseen events that awaited me thereafter. My name is Fiona, and I'm 30 years old. I work for a fairly prominent pharmaceutical company in the industry. Back when I was job hunting, I fought desperately to get into this company. The work is certainly not easy, but it's equally rewarding, and the benefits are substantial. In recent years, we've had a year-round busy season due to the outbreak of a new virus. The sole reason I've been able to keep going in those days is because my husband, Philip, is there with me. Philip and I were members of the same pop music club. We were just friends at the time. However, after becoming working adults, we reunited at a club alumni gathering and hit it off. During our student days, I couldn't imagine being in a relationship with him. But becoming working adults can change your senses and values, I suppose. The time I spent with Philip was invaluable in allowing me to be myself. While the new virus was spreading and everyone was anxious, we got married. We thought we'd support each other and live without giving up for a lifetime. Or so I believed. However, those feelings gradually started to fade away. We're approaching our second year of marriage. I can't honestly say that our relationship as a married couple is in good shape. When did it all turn into this? Looking back, it feels like it started with something trivial. It was about 6 months ago that I began to feel uncomfortable with my husband's attitude. As my overtime continued and I couldn't spend time on household chores, my husband said this to me.
Fiona, can't you come home a bit earlier?
I finally came home after 10 p.m. after working in overtime. I was exhausted, both physically and mentally, and my husband's words really got to me. However, I knew I shouldn't let my emotions get the better of me. So, after taking a deep breath and looking straight at my husband, I honestly expressed my feelings. I want to come home earlier if I could. But, as I mentioned before, the current circumstances are tough, and work is really busy.
But does that mean you should prioritize work over our family every single day? Lately, you haven't even had a proper dinner.
I've already apologized for that, haven't I? You said you understood.
There's still a limit to everything. You've been relying on deliveries every day lately. And you haven't even had time for a bath when you get home.
If you're going to complain so much, then couldn't you help out a bit, Philip? I'm not a housemaid. We're a married couple, so a little... I said that much, and my husband visibly frowned. He glared at me as if my words were somehow wrong. I was left speechless, and my husband continued without mercy.
Marriage doesn't have anything to do with it. Since your position is wife, it's your job to take care of the house.
What's that supposed to mean? Do you still believe that women should do housework in this day and age?
Huh? Of course. Housework is women's work. My mom has been doing it for ages.
Your mother was a stay-at-home mom, right? I worked just like you, Philip, remember? Even so, why would you say something like that?
Don't compare yourself to me. You have an easy job in a cushy office. I'm stressed out because I have to scrape by every day.
I am indeed shocked by my husband's words. We spend every day together, and he should understand me better than anyone else. I never expected to hear such things. Philip, is that really how you see me? I thought you understood that I'm working hard every day. Rather than anger or sadness, I felt an inexplicable frustration welling up. In the midst of daily intense work, my husband, who should prioritize me, was pushing me away. This incident marked the beginning of a gradual deterioration in our marriage. But the hard work never calmed down, and that made my husband even more angry. Every time I came home from work, Philip would get sarcastic with me.
Don't pretend to be busy when you're not doing much work anyway. Maybe you're actually having an affair. You can't even do the housework, and you're a lousy wife for prioritizing work.
And so on. I would return home exhausted from work, only to face my husband's harsh words. His words became weapons that tore through my emotions, and my heart was undeniably wearing down. The other night, on my day off, I was asleep without an alarm from the hard work I've been doing every day. I would wake up to the sound of my husband yelling at me.
Hey, it's already past 8 o'clock. How long do you plan to sleep?
My husband forcefully pulled back the covers and showered me with harsh words from above. I, on the other hand, had been working hard for a while and was not feeling well. I lay there and softly addressed my husband. Sorry, Philip. I'm not feeling well, so I'd like to rest today.
Huh? Even on a weekday you're not doing housework, and now you want to slack off on the weekend?
Slack off? I'm just unable to do much on weekdays because of my job, right? Besides, I do the minimum, like washing dishes and laundry.
What about cleaning? The fridge is empty.
I usually catch up on those things on the weekend. I'll get a good rest today and do them properly tomorrow.
Huh? Using work as an excuse to neglect household chores? You're a lazy wife.
What? I can't help but let out a voice like that when my husband makes a heartless comment. No matter how much he doesn't like me, would he say that much to his wife? Even I was shocked by this. No, I might have felt more anger and disbelief than shock. Despite being equals as a married couple, my husband criticized me, and I was thoroughly fed up with it. Eventually, he woke me up, and I had to do the housework. Due to my poor health, I pushed myself to the limit, both physically and mentally, to complete the chores. I had reached the limit of my patience with married life with my husband. On this day, as usual, with my work keeping me busy and my mind and body not getting enough rest, I made my way to the office with unsteady steps. Then, from behind me, I heard a cry. "Watch out!" Huh? By the time I realized, it was already too late. I had collided with a car that ran a red light and was forcefully thrown to the ground. Ouch! My consciousness remained, but my vision was blurry. I could see people gathering around, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. I had just been in a car accident. As I calmly pondered this, my vision grew darker. Amid fading consciousness, I felt like I could hear an ambulance siren in the distance. After a while, when I woke up, I found myself in a hospital bed. Looking around, I realized I was in a hospital room. A nurse was informing the attending doctor about the situation. I was hit by a car that ran a red light, and the impact knocked me to the ground. I had lost consciousness. Fortunately, there were no broken bones, just some bruises and sprains. My body was wrapped in bandages all over, and I was in pain from the impact, but I could still move to some extent. The doctor mentioned that I was fortunate that it hadn't been more severe, and I couldn't help but feel grateful for my luck. When I checked my smartphone, I saw multiple missed calls from my colleagues. I immediately returned the calls and explained the situation. During this, I couldn't help but wonder why there had been no contact from my husband. Normally, in the event of an accident, wouldn't one expect family to be informed? When I asked the nurse, she reassured me that they had already contacted my husband. so why hadn't he reached out to me even once? Checking my phone, I saw that it was already past 7 p.m. My husband should have finished work and been home by now. Could it be that there was some mix-up and the notification had gone to someone else? Otherwise, there's no way my husband wouldn't have contacted me. After all, his wife was in an accident. Telling myself this, I called my husband. After a few calls, I hear my husband's blunt voice saying,
"What the hell?"
He may not have known about the accident, I thought, and I quickly broached the subject. You know, I'm actually in the hospital right now.
Oh, you had some kind of accident, didn't you?
Huh?
I received a call during the day, honestly, causing trouble for others.
My husband's words make my head spin. The fact that he knew about my accident left me in shock. What does this mean? He knew I had an accident and yet he didn't come to the hospital or even contact me? Certainly, when one hears that their family has been in an accident, it's natural for anyone to panic and lose their composure. Still, I used to think that in such a situation, one would desperately try to maintain their composure and rush to the hospital, praying for safety. But the reality was different. Well, not just reality. It's more accurate to say that my husband was different. He didn't seem worried about my accident at all, as if it were someone else's matter. That's not all. He even went as far as saying that I'm causing trouble for others. Certainly, my accident must have caused inconvenience in various ways. But it's not solely my fault. I felt like everything was being blamed on me and found myself responding in a strong manner. Why are you behaving like that when you know your own wife had an accident?
Huh? Accident? You were careless, weren't you?
Don't say it like that, please. Anyway, I was in the hospital for a while and I wanted you to bring me a change of clothes.
Why me? Who even said you can go to the hospital in the first place?
Huh? I couldn't understand the meaning of my husband's words, and a foolish voice escaped from me. What do you mean? In response to my question, my husband said confidently,
You still don't get it? You getting into an accident is a big nuisance to me too.
Nuisance?
Don't slack off on household chores just because of a minor injury. Crawl back home if you have to.
The moment those heartless words were uttered, something that had been holding me back suddenly vanished. I couldn't let it consume my mind and body any longer. I can't take it anymore. If it has come to this, I have no choice but to resort to my last option. All right, I'll come back tomorrow morning. When I said that, my husband from the other end of the phone said,
Buy some alcohol on your way back,
he said, dismissing me. After that,
You must absolutely come back tomorrow. If you lie, I'll make you quit your job.
Messages with a threatening tone like these were sent. I was thoroughly fed up with him, as he seemed to think only of himself and not of my well-being. I had been considering divorce for a while, so I had packed my belongings to some extent to be prepared for whatever happened. I explained my situation to the doctor and convinced them to discharge me. Of course, they tried to stop me, but if I didn't end it now, I would regret it for the rest of my life. On my way home, I got a divorce agreement from the courthouse. Since I was wearing bandages, people's stares were painful. But I couldn't afford to care about that now. With my whole body throbbing in pain, I finally made it to the front door. Suddenly, my smartphone made a notification sound.
Come back by early afternoon.
It was a message from my husband, even though he said that I had already arrived in front of the house. I inserted the key and opened the front door. Inside, there were a few surprising people standing there. Huh? Why? The people standing there was my husband's parents. Due to the outbreak of the new virus, I hadn't seen them for a while, making this a reunion after about 2 years. Puzzled and standing still in that moment, my mother-in-law said, "Oh, Fiona, what's up with that bandage?" Huh? Oh, actually, I had an accident yesterday. An accident? And it was just yesterday? Are you okay? Normally, shouldn't you be staying in the hospital longer? Well... I glanced briefly at my husband, who was glaring at me with an intense expression. He probably didn't want his parents to find out that he had forced me to return. In the past, I might have chosen not to say anything to avoid upsetting my husband, but now, it was different. I had already decided on divorce, so I no longer cared about my husband's feelings. I took a deep breath and confessed everything to my in-laws. Dad, Mom, I'm getting a divorce from Philip. Upon hearing those words, not only my in-laws but also my husband opened their eyes wide and exclaimed, Huh? Fiona, what's happening all of a sudden? My mother-in-law asked me with a bewildered expression. At that moment, I took out the divorce agreement form I had obtained and slowly began to speak. For the past 6 months, our married life has been nothing but suffering. Despite both of us working, I've been burdened with all the household chores. When I wasn't feeling well and just wanted to rest, he would yell at me. What? Are you serious? Philip would do such a thing? That's not all. The reason I came back today is because Philip told me to crawl back home. What? Philip? Did you really say that to her? Confronted by my mother-in-law, my husband showed a startled expression and quickly put on a forced smile to begin justifying himself desperately.
What are you talking about, Mom? There's no way I would do something like that, right?
So what then? Are you saying that Fiona is lying?
That's right. You think I'm the kind of person who would do something that terrible?
My husband seemed to think that he could somehow get his parents on his side, but it was all in vain. I opened the messages that my husband had sent me last night and showed them to my in-laws. As they looked at the smartphone screen, their faces quickly turned bright red.
What have you done? As a man, as a human being, this is unforgivable. You've become a disgrace.
My father-in-law grabbed my husband's collar and shouted. My usually reserved father-in-law was getting emotional, and it was the first time I had ever seen him like this. With my husband frozen and I unable to say anything, my father-in-law coldly stated,
Fiona is a strong person. I've refrained from interfering in your marital issues, but this time I can't stay silent. A scumbag like you has no right to be Fiona's husband. Get a divorce quickly. What are you saying, Dad? Shouldn't you be defending your son in a situation like this? Don't play around. Is there any reason for me to defend you? You've caused enough suffering to Fiona, and it's embarrassing as a parent. You're no longer a part of our family. You scum. Never show your face again. Wait, Dad.
Even though my husband pleaded, his father paid no attention. In that moment, I packed my things. My father-in-law graciously allowed me to move into an apartment he owned. My father-in-law owns several properties. The apartment we now live in actually belongs to my father-in-law. He had been subsidizing the rent up to this point, but due to this incident, my husband was being evicted. He was disowned and would have to manage on his own income, which wasn't exactly a generous salary. My husband even had to pay me alimony for emotional distress. Of course, I've hired a lawyer and the divorce proceedings are underway. I just need a little more patience until I'm done with him. My husband was very emotionally damaged by this incident, leading to repeated unauthorized absences from work. It seemed he was on the brink of losing his job and his ability to support himself. From my point of view, it doesn't matter anymore. Whatever life he leads is no longer my concern. I wanted him to suffer at least as much as he had made me suffer, if not more. On the other hand, I was living a peaceful life in the apartment my father-in-law provided. He told me I didn't need to pay rent, but I felt it was only fair to pay half. I planned to move out once things had settled, and I was back on my feet. Until then, I would allow myself to rely on my father-in-law's kindness. I hadn't been able to build a good relationship with my husband, but thanks to meeting him, I had the opportunity to meet wonderful in-laws. I was grateful for this connection and hoped to lead a life that I could be content with from now on.
I'm off now.
Have a good trip and take care. Starting today, my Terry is going on a business trip for 3 days. As usual, I saw him off at the front door. The only thing different from usual is that our daughter didn't come to see him off. Until not too long ago, she used to come to see him off at the front door just when he was going to work. For some reason, my daughter hasn't been showing up these days. I know it's a little early, but is that girl going through puberty? As I returned to the living room, my daughter suddenly opened her mouth to me with a serious expression on her face.
Mom, please, divorce Dad.
Huh? What are you saying?
Please, Mom.
Seeing my daughter on the verge of tears, my heart felt like it was about to burst. Understanding the meaning of her words, I made a decision on the spot. This can't go on like this. I will protect this child and make her happy. With a determination, I immediately fled with my daughter. My name is Miriam Atkinson, and I'm 35 years old. I work in an IT company while also juggling the role of a part-time mother. I married my husband Terry 7 years ago. After we registered our marriage, we moved into an apartment that my father-in-law had purchased for us. Shortly after that, I became pregnant, and our daughter was born the following year. Our daughter Haley recently turned 6. She grows bigger each day, and I couldn't be happier. Haley is a huge fan of her dad. He leaves the house every morning at 6:30, and it has become a daily routine for Haley to wake up by that time to see him off.
Dad, take care.
Wearing pajamas and with a beaming smile, Haley clings to her father. My husband seems to be delighted with this routine, and he always hugs our daughter affectionately.
Haley, Dad will miss you, but I have to go.
Okay, good luck at work. Please come home early today.
I wonder. Daddy's been busy with work lately, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to play with you as much as I'd like, okay?
No, I know Dad is working hard, so I can be patient.
You're amazing, Haley. Haley, do your best at school too.
Okay, I have an English test today, so I'll do my best.
Every morning, this heartwarming conversation between husband and daughter unfolds. Such ordinary days were my happiness, but recently there's one thing that worries me. Lately, my husband has been coming home late. His company always had occasional overtime, but lately it's been more frequent, and he comes home late often. We used to have dinner together, but nowadays, most of the time, our daughter and I eat alone. On this day, as I was preparing dinner, my daughter Haley spoke to me in a hushed voice.
Hey, Mom, is Dad coming home late again today?
Yes, it seems that way. Dad's been really busy with work. But you know, Dad is working hard for you and Mommy, Haley.
Yeah, I understand. But I want to be with Dad more, like before.
You're right. It's lonely. We haven't been able to go out lately.
Yeah.
Over the past few months, my husband has been working late and often working on weekends as well. He's been tired from consecutive overtime and weekend work, and on his days off, he tends to just relax the whole day. Our daughter, perhaps out of consideration for her father, never says things like, "I want to go out," or "I want to play in front of him." She probably understands that her father works hard every day and comes home tired. While I'm grateful for the kind child she has become, it means she's had to endure a lot. Thinking that it's not good for our daughter to continue like this, I decided to discuss it with my husband. On a Friday night, at the end of the week, I stayed awake and waited for my husband to come home. I fought off drowsiness, and after midnight, I finally heard the sound of the front door opening. My husband entered the living room and was surprised to see me.
Huh? Miriam? Did you wait for me to wake up?
Yeah, I have something I want to talk about.
Something you want to talk to me about?
Yes, I'm sorry to bother you when you're tired, but it's about Haley. Mentioning our daughter's name, my husband sat in front of me with a serious expression.
Is something wrong?
I immediately began the conversation with my husband. You see, today, Haley told me that she wants to spend more time with you. She usually acts cheerful, but I think she's really feeling lonely.
Is that so? Well, I feel bad about it. I've been making her feel lonely because of my busy job.
It's not your fault, Terry. Besides, Haley understands that your job is tough. That's why she doesn't say anything in front of you.
You're right. All right, I got it. Let's go out together next Sunday.
Really? Thank you, Terry. Haley will be so happy. Following my husband's suggestion, we decided to go out next Sunday. When I told our daughter about it the next day, Haley's eyes sparkled with joy.
Really? Going out? With Dad? The three of us?
Yes, that's right. Dad is going to take us somewhere.
Yay! I want to go to an amusement park, an aquarium, and a zoo.
Well, let's choose one of them. Anywhere you want to go is fine.
Okay, I'll think about it.
After a week of contemplating, our daughter chose the aquarium. On the day of our outing, the three of us headed to the aquarium in the neighboring town. How many years has it been since I last visited an aquarium? I go through the tanks in order one by one, watching my daughter's happy face. Since my husband and I both work, we let our daughter have a child-friendly smartphone. Haley happily took pictures of the fish with her smartphone. As we finished looking at the first section, my husband suddenly spoke up.
Sorry, Miriam.
He somehow had a guilty look on his face. What's wrong? I asked, and Terry whispered to me so that our daughter couldn't hear.
The company called me and they want me to come to the office right away.
Huh? Right now?
Yeah, well, if I've been called in by my boss, I can't really refuse, can I? I'm sorry, but both of you can take the train home.
But what should I tell Haley? We finally gotta go out together today.
There's no other way, is there? Can you handle it skillfully, Miriam? Well, see you.
My husband hurriedly left the scene to avoid being seen by our daughter. As I pondered what to do, our daughter, who had been walking with her eyes on the ground, suddenly turned around energetically.
Mom, what's going on? And where's Dad?
I thought about lying, but a makeshift lie would only get me caught. Besides, my daughter is already in elementary school and can understand adult words. I took my daughter to the side of the aisle, crouched down to her level, and began to speak. I'm sorry, Haley. Dad received a call from work and they want him to come in right away.
Huh? Work? But today was supposed to be our day out.
It's a very important job, and Dad is the only one who can do it.
Does that mean Dad is amazing?
Yeah, that's right. Dad is a remarkable person who can be relied on when things get tough. Perhaps she was very pleased with those words as her expression, which had been gloomy until then, suddenly brightened. Afterward, while happily saying, Dad is so cool, she continued to visit the aquarium. It seemed that she was very tired, as Haley fell fast asleep on the train ride back. While looking at her adorable sleeping face, I couldn't help feeling a little sorry. Even though she had interpreted it in a positive way, she must have felt lonely. Right now, the three of us should have been making dinner together. I understand that his job is busy, but I wonder if this situation will continue like this indefinitely. Despite my husband's best efforts, my anxiety inevitably takes precedence. How long will these days like this continue? Will I have to make our daughter feel lonely for the foreseeable future? Thinking about such things made my chest feel somewhat heavy. However, there's nothing I can do right now. The only thing I can do is to spend more time with my daughter and try not to make her feel lonely. I promised myself that I would spoil my daughter as much as my husband did. 1 week later, as usual, I saw off my husband at the entrance before going to work, but our daughter didn't come at all. She didn't respond when I called her name, and it seemed she was holed up in her room. Perhaps because he couldn't see our daughter, my husband left for work with a somewhat lonely expression. After seeing him off, I called out to my daughter in her room. "Haley, I told Papa, but was it okay that we didn't see him off today?"
Yeah.
"I see. Breakfast will be ready soon, so come to the living room when you're ready."
Okay.
She doesn't have her usual cute smile and wears a somewhat troubled expression. During breakfast, I tried asking if something had happened, but my daughter didn't open up. Even after 2 weeks, my daughter remained in low spirits, and our conversations became significantly less frequent. Previously, she used to talk to my husband as well, but now it seemed like she was avoiding him. Then, one day, my husband had to go on a 2-night, 3-day business trip.
"She's not coming to see me off today, is she?"
With a hint of loneliness in his voice, my husband made that remark, and I did my best to encourage him. "I'm sure by the time you return from your business trip, Haley will be back to her usual self."
"Do you think so? I hope so."
"So, Terry, do your best on your trip. Don't worry about us. And don't forget to bring souvenirs, okay?"
"I will. Well then, I'm off."
"Take care and have a safe trip." I saw off my husband at the entrance as usual. However, my daughter didn't show up at all. It's a bit early, but I wonder if she's going through puberty. I returned to the living room, thinking carefree thoughts. Then, my daughter suddenly spoke to me with a serious expression.
Mom, please, divorce Dad.
"Huh? What are you talking about?"
Please, Mom.
With my daughter looking like she could burst into tears at any moment, my heart ached. This is not something simple. I firmly believe that, and gently asked my daughter, placing my hand on her shoulder. "Haley, what's wrong? Why are you suddenly saying something like this? Did something happen?"
Listen to this.
"Huh?" What my daughter handed me was her usual child-sized smartphone. Even though it is for children, it can take photos and videos and has an audio function. My daughter showed me one video. When I replayed the video, I found that it left a shocking image.
"It's okay. She hasn't noticed." "My wife is oblivious. She'll never realize it for sure. The last time I visited, we actually went to the aquarium as a family. But family outings are so boring. I'll make sure to get her savings, and then I'm divorcing her. I only love you, Erica."
The video was secretly taken from the living room entrance. My husband had his back turned to me, sitting on the sofa and talking on the phone. Judging by the conversation, he seems to be involved in an affair with a woman named Erica. Even though she's young, my daughter sensed what was going on. "Haley, I don't know how this is possible."
I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard Dad's voice. I wanted to say welcome back, but Dad was on the phone with someone. I took this to let you know that Dad is lying.
I see. I'm sorry, Haley. You didn't want to hear this, did you?
Yeah, and I just started disliking Dad. I want to be with just you, Mom.
Haley. I held my daughter tightly and kept apologizing. At the same time, my hatred for my husband grew. This can't go on like this. I will protect this child and make her happy. I packed her things while my daughter got ready, and then I packed the essentials into a suitcase. Holding my daughter, I immediately made my escape. we headed to my in-laws' house, which was about an hour away by train. Since my own family lives in Alaska, traveling can be quite challenging. I have a close relationship with my in-laws, and they have always treated me as if I were their own daughter. They were taken aback and confused when I and my daughter suddenly arrived unannounced, but I was straightforward and told them the truth. Terry is having an affair. My words left my in-laws wide-eyed, and they exchanged glances. Then my daughter handed her smartphone to them and played the video I mentioned.
What is he doing?
The room filled with anger. My father-in-law turned red, and my mother-in-law trembled with fury. My in-laws dote on their first grandchild, and they are furious about what their granddaughter had to go through. My father-in-law offered to transfer the purchased apartment and began the paperwork immediately. They allowed me to send all of my husband's belongings to their house, so I quickly returned to the apartment and had all his things delivered to my in-laws' place before he came back. 2 days later, while having dinner at home with my daughter, there was a loud noise at the front door. However, we had already changed the locks, so my husband couldn't enter. He continued to ring the intercom persistently, and then my phone started receiving a barrage of calls. Because he was so insistent, I reluctantly made my way to the front door. With a chain lock in place, I opened the door to find my husband, his face red with anger, shouting at me.
Hey, why want the door open? What did you do?
What did I do? I just changed the locks, that's all.
Huh? Why would you do something like that? I won't be able to get in.
Well, I don't intend to let you enter this apartment ever again.
What? What are you talking about? This is our home, isn't it?
Sorry, but this home is in my name now. Your father changed the ownership. Unexpectedly, my husband stood in front of the door, baffled by the facts. Then our daughter appeared from the living room. When Terry saw Haley, he extended his hand through the gap in the door with a forced smile.
Haley, please tell Mom. I'm having trouble not being able to enter the room.
Then my daughter gave him a cold look.
You don't have to come in, because you're not Dad anymore.
Haley, what's happened to you? Did Mom say something to you?
Didn't Dad lie? He told someone else that he loved them, right?
My daughter took out her own smartphone and silently thrust the video in question at him. When he saw it, Terry's face turned pale.
Why? Why this video? I mean, it's not what you think. It was just some kind of game.
Clearly, his face contorted, and his voice grew quieter. Seizing the moment, I expressed my anger. A game? I don't want to hear excuses. Do you have any idea how much we've suffered because of your police actions? I believed in you for so long. But it turns out all your overtime and business trips were lies, right? Even Haley knows everything now. And you still plan on making excuses?
Please, forgive me. I'll end my relationship with her.
I don't care about that. Haven't you figured it out yet? Haley and I no longer consider you family. Using this evidence of your affair, I'll squeeze alimony out of you and your lover. Get ready, because you and that woman are going to hell together. Ignoring my husband, who looked like he was about to cry, I firmly closed the door. For a while, there was the sound of someone knocking on the door from outside, but it soon stopped. Later, I received a message from my in-laws saying that my husband had come to them seeking help. Of course, they had no intention of helping him and promptly sent him away. He had nowhere else to go, so he ended up crashing at his lover's apartment. The reason this became known is because the affair partner contacted me and exposed the relationship herself, saying, "The story is different." She even went to the trouble of sending me pictures as proof of the affair, as if she was trying to harass me. Based on that, I requested legal assistance for a divorce from my husband. Because of the alimony payments, Terry and his cheating partner's lives are changed forever. Now they blame each other and fight every day. Moreover, the affair partner used to be a receptionist at my ex-husband's company. Their relationship got exposed at the company, leading to the immediate termination of the affair partner's contract, and Terry got moved to a less promising department, ending his chances of promotion. It doesn't seem like they have a bright future ahead of him. On the other hand, I'm still living with my daughter in the apartment my father-in-law purchased for me. My daughter doesn't seem to be sad, but rather she appears more lively than before.
Mom, on the next day off, I want to go to the amusement park.
It's true, we haven't been there in a while. Alright, let's go.
Yay! Will you buy popcorn too?
Of course. And should we get matching headbands?
Sounds good. Let's wear them together.
Since that day, it feels like my daughter and I have become close friends. I hope we can continue to overcome many challenges together in the future.